Let's shift over to talking about. So you mentioned earlier, you want to have good form, right? Regardless of whether
Hmm.
you're young and you're doing some barbell deadlifts or something, or if you're older and you're just doing some simple, chair squats or something, right? You want to
Hmm.
have good form because good form helps prevent injuries. And
Correct.
as we uh, as we age, I think it's pretty counter. I think it's pretty well known that we're more prone to injuries, right? I mean, sometimes
Yeah.
now when I'm not that old, but there's times when I sneeze and get out of bed and I feel like something might have been put out of place. But so there is that importance of having good form with working out. And then the other thing is we've all probably read these articles at some point of how big of the impact it is of maintaining balance, because when people fall and they're elderly or they break a hip or whatever it is, there's all these crazy statistics about just how, I guess, how hard it is for them to come back and how much of a downward trajectory their kind of health goes on after one of
Hmm.
those instances. And so maybe you could touch on that. I think what falls into here, and I know you mentioned it to me, and I'm not too familiar with it, is the DEXA scan
Yeah.
thing as well. So maybe if you want to just kind of touch on all that.
Yeah. So real quick on form, that is, like I said, the danger of just going online, downloading a fitness plan and getting started on your own, especially if you have no prior experience with resistance training. Inevitably, I've been focusing on this for the last 2 or 3 years, and I still every month meet with my personal trainer and go over my form on more and more key movements. I videotape myself, not because I'm so vain, but because I actually watch that and compare that to proper form for each movement, make sure that I don't notice anything. Because, as you alluded to right there, if you, especially as you get up in your latter years, a potential injury can be debilitating for a lot of reasons and costly and can be a particularly gnarly spiral. So I'm told. Luckily, I haven't had that happen to me yet personally, but that's why I'm putting in all of this work.
Mhm.
So, having said all that, the DEXA scan. This is something I just came onto last year, and I am a huge proponent of this. I just had a client of mine. I think he's doing his this week. But when I get started with someone, I can't recommend that to them enough. Is doing a DEXA scan. It stands something about X-rays, dual X-ray, something or other. I can't remember what the A stands for. Some word I can't even pronounce anyway. But essentially, what it does is you go and real quick. If you have any metal implanted in your metal implanted in your body, that will uh, preclude you from being able to do it. So that's the first thing they ask you if you have a metal hip or whatever it might be. So luckily for me, I didn't. So when I went to do mine, I could do it. And they X-ray your body, lay down, they X-ray you, and a day or two later, they give you a 2-page printout, and it essentially analyzes your body fat, your lean muscle mass, and I think arguably most importantly, your bone density. And so this gives you a picture. It gave me a real insight into not only, where my body fat was, and that was all just kind of fluff. It was right around where I thought it would be, but the bone density was a total new thing to me. I had never had that measured. I had no idea what that was going to look like. And honestly, I was a bit disappointed. I mean, it was basically saying my bone density was about where it should be for a male of my age.
Mhm.
I want to be better than that. I don't want to just be average for my age as a somewhat of a overachiever. Not that I was always like that, but now, especially in the fitness space,
Mhm.
I want to be ahead of the curve. And so I went and asked my trainer immediately. This is a year or so ago. I went and asked him and said, well, how do I get my bone density better? And his answer was one word. I'll never forget. He said, load.
Mhm.
Lifting weights, carrying weights. That's like our superpower as humans. That we're able to carry things. And
Mhm.
so in my fitness program, I do a lot of loaded carries or overhead carries to work on my bone density.
Mhm.
And so I've made it a point to schedule my DEXA scan every year around my birthday. That's my birthday present to myself to see year on year if I've made any gains. And again, I'm not as concerned with the lean muscle mass, although from a vanity point of view, I'm interested in that. But mostly, I'm interested to see from a health span perspective where my bone density is and if I've made any improvements. And even if it's just the slightest little marginal increase, that means that all the work that I was doing, not only was I getting the aesthetic benefits that we all like or that I like, but I'm able to make my bones even stronger, so that down the road in my my older years, if I do happen to have that fall, hopefully I'll be able to bounce back quicker and it won't be as debilitating and costly as it might be for someone else.
Very
And
interesting.
by the way, real quick, on since the good listeners of the Hawaii Retirement Show are mostly, I would assume, based here in Hawaii, I got mine done at the UH Cancer Center. It's over on Ala
Mm.
Moana. So if you just Google UH Cancer Center DEXA scan, DEXA, you'll see it. I think it was like $70, so it's not cost prohibitive. It wasn't super expensive to do, and it was easy to schedule, and only took 10 minutes when I was there. So can't recommend the DEXA scan enough.
Perfect.
The opinions and statements presented on this show are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations. Never make any investment or financial decisions based on information offered on this show without first consulting your financial, legal, or tax advisor. All economic and performance information mentioned on the show is historical in nature and is not indicative of any future results. All indices mentioned on this show are unmanaged and cannot be invested in directly. All information is believed to be from reliable sources. However, we make no representation as to its completeness or accuracy. Lastly, all opinions expressed by Jason Cutitta and any guests on the show are solely their own opinions and do not reflect the opinions of or are endorsed by ToBA Financial. For Jason Cutitta, investment advisory services are offered through ToBA Financial LLC, a registered investment advisor offering advisory services in the state of Hawaii and in other jurisdictions where exempt from registration.